Greetings. It is me again. So this is a series where I answer questions directly from you. You send them to the webmaster. The webmaster sends them to me. I answer your questions. This one is about the first date blues. I've been on several dates lately, but it hasn't turned into anything. I find that the dates get boring after the first 30 minutes. It gets awkward and conversation gets dry. What can I do to keep the first date interesting? Something someone told me when I was young, my godbrother. He said the first 2 weeks of a relationship should be on the phone. Because if there's nothing to talk about and nothing in common, you will find out in that first 2 weeks, and then there'll be no need to go on a date. Now, 2 weeks nowadays in our technological, fast-moving age might not be too practical. But the first date should always be a conversation over the phone. Reason being, after that conversation, you will have a general idea of how well you and that person, one, will converse, two, will get along, and three, if you have any kind of in-depth conversation, what their worldview is and what kind of person that they might be. Just some insight. It's not foolproof. You're not going to know everything about them, their whole life stories, unless they're them talking to people, but you will have an idea. So first, to get rid of the first date blues, have the first date on the phone. That'll give you some good insight. Two, when you go out, be creative. Go places where there'll be visuals to fill the gaps. For instance, everybody loves the zoo. I don't know anybody of any age who does not love the orangutans and the monkeys and the apes. And those things will fill conversations. And it doesn't have to be meaningful conversations, because I've not really heard any deep conversations at the zoo unless you work there. You can go to a park. A park is full of people, depending on where you're at, maybe in New York, some strange looking people. All make good conversations. And this can fill the gaps when they're lulls. So what happens is sometimes we think that we have to be creative. And if they don't have a conversation, we're going to have to hold up the conversation and be ultra creative and be ultra interesting. If there's that worry, go places where the conversation will build itself, where there will be automatic things that you two can focus on and have a conversation about, so there won't be a lull. And again, if it doesn't come off of those things, if all you talk about is orangutans at the zoo, if all you do is talk about strange people at the park, you understand that there's pretty much no creativity, no spark, and there's really nothing you have in common. So this is probably going to be the end of the dating. Or, just like the park, go someplace public so you can feed off your surroundings. Again, take a walk. And if you're adventurous, take a walk in the bad side of town. You can see if you can run together. No, okay, but that was really bad. But you get the point. Go places, like I said, where you can feed off the surroundings. It's just like the zoo. Also, be in public, because a lot of times we feel awkward when we're alone with somebody. We don't know how they're going to react, and we feel more pressure to interact with that person because now we're alone and it's just them. And what's going to happen if we don't get along? When you're in public, if you're at a Starbucks sipping coffee or a Frappuccino or whatever you drink, and you guys start weaning off conversations, you're not going to be all that worried because there's other people around. And you might feel that you have an out, and it's important to feel that you have an out. That's the other thing. On the first date, drive separate cars. Meet someplace. That way you don't have that awkward silence on the way home, or that meaningless conversation that's patronizing and insults people, where he or she knows she's just talking to me or he's talking to me just until they get me to the door, and then they're running as fast as they can. So far, talk on the phone first. Be creative. Go places that will facilitate conversations, or be in public places that will fill conversations through the surroundings, and also it won't make you feel so obligated to interact with that person to the point where you're going to do it even after, quote unquote, the thrill is gone. Two, drive separate cars so when it's done, it can be done. And then check this out. Make it a teach me date. Get on the phone in that first conversation. Find out something that he or she knows how to do that you don't. And then, or vice versa, something that you know how to do that he or she doesn't, and then make it a teach me date. Not the wacky stuff that they do on TV where they both go and try to figure something out together. But I mean, if you're adventurous, if you're into skydiving, that person always wanted to skydive, take them skydiving. If you're good at something, whatever it is, if you're good at swimming and that person doesn't know how to swim, go teach them how to swim. Do something where there is a level of conversation involved where someone has to communicate something to you. Reason being, you will find out, one, how patient they are, two, how well they communicate, and three, how interested they are in getting you into their world and learning what they learn and what they know. And also, if you're not a quick study, how they will treat you in the future when there's something that you don't get or something that you can't figure out that they know that they think is simple. Those are telltale signs of people's personalities, their considerations, how compassionate or empathetic they are. Wonderful. Make it a teach me date. And listen, the worst case scenario is someplace where talking isn't expected. So, in other words, go dancing. If you figure that it's not going to be any conversation, go to the club. Go to a movie. Go to a play. If you want something funny, go to a Tyler Perry play. Go someplace where talking, quote unquote, is not a good thing to do. Of course, we're black. We talk through the movies. But if you want to be silent during the movie, it's understood. So if you don't think you're going to have a good time that first half hour, pick a movie that you're probably going to like, and you have a good time for 2 hours, and then the conversation again home will be something about the movie. If there's no other conversation, if there's no other spark, if there's no other chemistry, you always have the movie to fall back on. But these are simple things. Talk on the phone, be creative, be public, find out something that they don't know, make it a teach me date. And I say worst case scenario, go someplace where talking is not expected or not allowed. Simple. I know that might sound kind of crass, and it might be be really matter of fact, but we're about being honest here, and that's the way you get over the first date blues.